Hello and thank you for subscribing to Infoverse Tech. This is a channel where we explore new trends in technology, including programming languages. And today we are going to look at JavaScript and just the basics of JavaScript. So this is going to be a short tutorial. Just look at the basic functionality of JavaScript just to help the viewer get started, and it creates that interest to learn more. So JavaScript is a very popular language used for web applications and also for general purpose programming. So let's get started. Here I am going to a resource called replit.com. This is a free resource, and it allows and it supports a large number of popular languages. So as you can see from the drop down list, you have Node.js, JavaScript, Java, C++, Haskell, you name it, and it supports that. So this makes it an ideal platform for learning and in any supported browser. So let's get started. The basic command to print something on the screen is console.log, and here we are printing the standard hello world. So the syntax is pretty straightforward. Console.log, brackets open, and you have hello comma world or whatever text you want to print inside those commas. So let's run this, and you can see it ran hello world. We can just change this to say hello JavaScript as an example. Let's run that, and you see that it just prints to the just like a print command. Now let's look at some other options. So let me just copy this bit of code here, and I will quickly explain what this does. So we are assigning, let is an equivalence of assigning a variable. So first name is a variable. We are assigning Java, and then let last name equals to script, let full name equals to first name plus last name, and again we are printing out full name, which is the variable here. So let's run that, and as you can see, it printed JavaScript, but maybe we don't like that space in between. So you can see the when they're concatenating these two variables, we've also added a little space here. So if I remove that space and rerun that, you notice that it prints that JavaScript without any space. So very simple. If you want to create a variable and assign it some value, you use let first name last name, and then we just simply combine that together to print. So another very interesting function is what is called trimming. So we have some text and we have some white space. So you can see I have hello world. You have a lot of white space before hello and a lot of white space after world, and we're going to use the trim command or trim function to remove that extra white space that we can see here. And we're also introducing another function called, or a command called const. So this is a constant, and basically this is in a way opposite to a variable, that once the value is assigned, in most probability it will not change. So what we're doing here is we are saying it's a constant, we're giving it some name, greeting, it equals to this hello world, and you can see we have white space on both sides. So we are going to use console.log and greeting.trim. So greeting is the variable or constant that is getting this value. So by adding .trim and following the syntax, which is simple because it's a function, it has those there's no values being passed, so empty two brackets and then closing off bracket for the console.log. And once we run that, you can see that it prints out hello world without the extra white space that is shown here. So a very nifty command, I would say, to make text easier to read. So in this similar fashion, we have a command called replace, and what it basically does is that it replaces a certain word in any sentence. So as an example here, we have a sentence: quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. And when we can use this, and using the same syntax as the dot trim, so sentence dot replace, and the word that you want to replace and the replacement. So once I run that, you will see the output, and it replaced the dog word with the monkey word. We can maybe change this to something else. Let's say cat as an example, and when I run that, so whatever is the second word here, that will be replaced with the first word here. So it finds instance of the word dog and then replaces it with cat. So let's try something here. Let's have two instances of dog and see how that is handled. So when I run that, you notice that it replaces all the instances of dog with the instance of cat. So again, simple syntax, simple to follow, and it's able to replace any text that it sees with the text that you specify. Now let's look at how we can use lower and uppercase. So let me just bring it here. So let city equals Toronto, city equals city dot to lowercase, and when I run that, you will notice that Toronto, which was starting with the capital T, it becomes all small case. Let us do another one which is similar to this, and that is changing it to an uppercase. So we'll see what let me just comment that out. So when I run that, it says change it to uppercase, right? All the words are now uppercase. So again, very simple syntax. Whatever is your variable, dot to lowercase, that's the syntax, and if you want to change it to uppercase, very straightforward. Now let's look at another example where we will actually replace text with another one in the form of a sentence. So it's also called template literal. So as an example, let university equals Caltech, let sentence equals John studied engineering from, you have this $sign and these curly brackets, and then what you're going to replace it with. So when we run this console.log sentence, you see that it's replaced the university with the actual value. So it's a way for the variable to show that value in a sentence and complete the sentence that we created here. Let's look at some if statements. So let me just bring it here. So as I said earlier, this is a very basic introduction to JavaScript, just to create that interest, and this will help us to generate a learning interest in the language, and to get you started. So here we are saying let car equals prompt, what car do you drive, if car equals Tesla, and here you can see that for checking this inside like a comparison operator, it's got 3 equal signs. Equals Tesla, then we run this command. If it's not Tesla, then the other part of the is as follows. And we're also introducing a new command here, which is prompt, and prompt is used if you want the user to input a value. So here what we're saying is prompt what car do you drive, and whatever value I will enter or you will enter, that will be captured in this variable called car. And now we're doing some comparison. So if that car equals Tesla, then we send out a message and another introduction alert, which just pops a message into on the screen. So if it matches Tesla, the first if it will generate this or output this expression. If not, if it doesn't match, then you have another message thrown on the screen. So let's run this. So what car do you drive? Let's see, I want to say I drive a Tesla, and it says electric vehicles are the future. So once it matched this input that the user provided, this satisfied it, and it was able to run and show the first message. Now let's run it again and enter something different. So let's say I drive a Corolla, and you see, since this was not satisfied, it matched this statement, and it says okay, consider upgrading to an EV. So just some fun stuff to show you how you can use if statement and then create a small program to run that. Now let's look at if else statement. So very similar, and let me just bring that up here. Let's put that up. So here what we're doing, we are checking for income equals to prompt what is your annual salary. If income is greater than or equal to a certain level or certain value, you will run this statement, and if it does not match, it will fall through to the other one. So let's run this. So what is your annual salary? Let me enter something like 50,000. So this one is satisfied and says your loan is approved. Now let me rerun that, and let me enter some value that is less than 50,000, and when I run this, it says your loan is not approved. So it's a simple if else statement. So if it matched this one, it ran or displayed this over here. Otherwise, if it doesn't match that, it runs or shows the second one. So as long as these statements are dependent on how the if statement is evaluated. Now let's look at some or and and statements. So let me just bring that up here, and let's show that. Okay, so here we are saying we have an alert, meaning just display on the entry requirements. Let age equals to prompt please enter your age. Let gender equals to please enter your gender. So this is we've looked at before, assigning a variable. Age and gender are variables here. Now we're doing a comparison. So if age is less than 18, or, so these two bars stand for or gender equals male, alert you can't join this club. So or means either of the statements is true, then this will be executed. So let's run this. Entry requirements, please enter your age. So let's say I enter 18, and please enter your gender. If I enter male, I can't join this club. So if either one of these is true, then this statement is executed. You could enhance this to say else if it's female, then you can join, right? One of the conditions is satisfied. Okay, let's look at another example. So this is an example of this was an example for or. Let's look at an example for and. So here we're saying alert university entry requirements. Let grade 1 equals prompt enter math grade. Let grade 2 equals prompt enter biology grade. If grade 1 is greater than 75 and grade 2 is greater than or equal to 65, then you have fulfilled entry requirements, else you will have to get better grades. So basically what we're doing here is the AND statement means that both grade 1 and grade 2, the values that we have specified have to meet those values in order to get the if statement to be satisfied. Otherwise it falls to the next one. So let's give it a shot. So university entry level requirements, let's say we say 75 in grade 1, 65 in biology, and we run that, it's be fulfilled. Now let's try with the one satisfying and the other not satisfying. So for an AND, remember both have to be satisfied in order for it to be true. So let's read on that, and let me put 75. So this satisfies it, but in biology you got 62, and when we run that, it did not match. So for AND, both have to match. For OR, in the previous example that we saw, either or, so one of them has to match. Okay, let's look at some math quickly. So let's look at round. So what this does is that it rounds the number to the next number. So let me go through the syntax. So console.log we are familiar with. Here we are introducing math with a capital M, so this is case sensitive. Math.round, and the actual number that you want to do this operation on. So when I run this, it rounds it off to the next number. Let's try with, let's say 4.5 or 4.4, and you see that it stays at 4.4, but perhaps at 4.5 it might round it up to 5, right? So that's what round does. And the syntax is similar or simple, math dot round, and the rest that we show here will also follow the same syntax. So let's look at something which is floor, so which is the, in a way, opposite of round. So when I run this, it will take the lowest number, then 4.5. So when it rounds it off to the floor, it's actually 4. Let's look at some another example. So let me see. So let's introduce ceiling here. So ceiling is, let me just remove it here and replace it with ceiling. So ceiling is the way to understand this, the smallest integer greater than or equal to the given number. So for 0.95, when we run this, and we just need to add console.log, so it prints it out to the screen, and when we run that, so it goes to 1. Now let's look at another example where we have let me just modify this to say, let's say 7. So when you run this, it will stay at 7 because remember the definition is greater than or equal to the given number. Now let's try something. So it's this number is slightly greater than 7. So when we run ceiling again, notice that although this is a very small increase to this number, but it's as per the definition is greater than or equal to this number, so it takes the next number, which is 8. Now let's look at square root. So again, very simple syntax, sqrt, and then the number. So let's put in something like 48. Let's run this, so you get a number. Let's see, I know this should have a square root, so you get 7. So again, very simple syntax to follow. Let's look at another one, which is power. So syntax is POW. This will take a power of another number. So if I give it 2, 2, so this will give you 4. So 2 to the power 2, 4. Let's say 3 gives me 9. If I do, let's say 3 to the power 4, it should give you 27 into 3 to 81. So that's the power command. Let's look at absolute. The absolute command will take a number and it will replace it with without a sign. So let's say I have a number -3. When I run absolute on this, it takes away the sign and just leaves an absolute number. We also have pi, so that's when you run that, you get the pi value. We also have functions to display the highest or the maximum or minimum number in a list. So I have a list with some bunch of numbers. Maybe let's add a few more here and let's run this. So again, very simple syntax, math.min and then bracket open with all the numbers. So min is for minimum, so it just finds the minimum number. And if I replace this with max, which is the opposite of minimum, so it'll be the maximum number in this list. When you run that, it gives us, so very useful method or operation to quickly find the lowest or the highest number in any list of numbers. Let's look at random numbers, and again, this is a very useful operation to be able to generate random numbers. As an example, if you're throwing dice or you're making a game for card play or something similar that requires chance, you do require the random number generator. So let me just bring it up here. So this command, again, it's a very simple syntax, math with a capital M dot random and bracket open bracket. So we're not passing any value here, so it's just empty, and then bracket close for the console.log, and this generates a random number between 0 and 1. So let's run that. So 0.220, you can see it's a big number, number of digits, and when I run that again, it's always will be randomly different. So maybe this is a small number, maybe you want a slightly bigger number, so you can actually make this, maybe you want something that falls in between 1 and 10, you can do that, or maybe 1 and 100. So it's all up to you how you want to work with this. And you can also further round it off. Let's say, as an example, you want to drop the decimals, so maybe you can do something like floor, and when you run this, you'll notice that you always get a number without any decimal numbers. And as you cycle through, you can see that it's always a new number, so it's fairly random for our purposes. So that was a short introduction to JavaScript, some of the more popular or useful operations. We looked at managing text and numbers. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned. I will be creating more videos in this same language, and introducing you to more slightly more advanced functions, like perhaps we look at arrays, how to handle date and time, and similar functionality. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thank you.